We're going to be taking a look at the Jonesboro, Arkansas EF3 tornado from the 28th of March, 2020. We're going to use multi-radar, multi-sensor system MRMS products to add some additional warning decision confidence. All right, this is the second in the series of Central Florida on 20 April 2020 that we're taking a look at. We did look at Melbourne side of the peninsula a little bit earlier in the morning and saw a couple of tornadoes track pretty well. National Weather Service had it nailed, and we're using GR2 to see what we can interrogate or what our interrogation steps should be and how to interpret those. So we've got a couple of overlays on here. Just want to explain that to you. GR2 is pretty good about putting on, if you go to Windows, Show Place File Manager, we've got level 3 attributes. You can see that's the storm track looking things from level 3. So from GR3, if you got GR3, this is pretty much a direct translation for that cell, probably from the last full volume scan. We've got the Saratoga Blitzertongue lightning. I've got it turned off though. Kind of a foregone conclusion these cells will all have lightning in them, but you can watch the trends on that as well. The range rings I have loaded are not applicable in this particular case. And prob severe objects loop, and that's these contours here. You see that kind of fuchsia colored contour there. It's pretty high for prob wind, so prob severe wind. Prob tornado is pretty high too on it, 43%. So we're going to be looking at that. That's only good for about an hour. It's perishable. It'll stay on the screen for approximately 1 hour. I think we're still in good shape as we're on 1723. Current time is 1758. So we're still good for about another 15, 20 minutes. The last several presentations I did, we live data kind of got away from this. I spent a little bit too much time yapping and not enough time looking at the good stuff. So National Weather Service does have a couple of warning boxes out here. We're looking at the Tampa radar TBW, and there are some reports, some damage reports. There's a marine damage, severe thunderstorm there from an ASOS at St. Pete, 58 miles per hour, another ASOS station, and they're all three. So all three recording over 50 knots of wind damage. Let me go back to two panels here. A little easier to see. So you can see that there's our marine warning, and there's our more than 50%. You start seeing the purplish colors. So the high end of the scale is up above 50. The low ends in the blues, really dark blue, is going to be like 1%. Really bright fuchsia, right past 50%. 50% is almost white, and then violet, purple all come into play on the high end. And prob severe, we've talked about in a couple other presentations, is the max between prob hail, prob wind, and prob tor. And here are the elements that go into prob severe, and they're all separately looked at or included in the prob hail, prob wind, and prob tor algorithms. They all use slightly different things. Prob hail and prob wind use about everything. They use satellite radar, flash data, lightning data, and model data, whereas prob tor is a little more limited. It's using model data and the low-level ASHER, the radar data. So that's what goes into that. And our right now on this cell, prob wind is the largest value. Prob tor is on the low side of 50%, which is still pretty good. So we need to be watching that closely. Right now, there's at this point approximately 40 minutes prior to current time, there is no tornado warning out for any of these cells up here in the western part of the peninsula, but we are seeing good storm reports. The cell up here to the north, this one over Haines City, actually looks like it's got the nastiest reflectivity signature in it there. We got what appears to be a little bit of a hook there, not showing up too much on SRV. Let's reset my storm motion using that storm box, storm motion from the warning. And that definitely changed our SRV over there. But still, we'd be looking for a couple at about right there. If this was a real genuine hook echo, we'd be looking about right there and not really seeing it. Radar's back to our southwest. So we see outbounds on this side, inbounds on this side. And right now, it's looking like all outbound winds. I don't know, we might be able to boost our value here a little bit. Let's go 35, see if inbounds show up at all. Maybe a little higher. Let's go 45. I mean, the cells earlier on in the Eastern Peninsula off the Melbourne radar were in excess, moving in excess of 40 knots, but That's not helping us out much. We go back to our storm motion. So right now, not showing any couplet per se. We're up about 2,800 feet. If there was something significant in the lower elevation angles, we'd be picking up on it. I'll bump it on up, and it's all pretty much showing up as outbounds, not anything looking like rotation yet. I'll even switch over to interrot, and we're really not showing much at all where that alleged hook would be. Let me go ahead and shoot a cross section through there. See what it looks like there. It looks like we do have a weak echo region. It's a low top convection weak echo region right there. Got the updraft, so you can see in the horizontal down here on the surface, we got inflow notch coming in from the southeast, and it's got to go somewhere. It encounters that precip loaded downdraft. It's got to do something, so it goes upwards and keeps feeding the updraft. So more unstable that air becomes there as being drawn into the cell, the more development we'll see on this thing. So right now it's got a pretty low top to it, and I'd say probably the severe warning has a lot to do with storm motion speed at this point. There's our prob severe. Prob wind is 29%, so it's starting to pick up on some of the indices, but nothing looking tornadic yet. Looking at the SRH, the 1 kilometer SRH is pretty low. I want to see that get up over 300 before you start thinking tornadic. Bulk shear definitely in the supercell range, and our cape is building. We got most unstable cape almost 3,000, almost 2,900 rather, and our sin is not very significant, so not much of a cap in place. All right, so that's kind of the review on the first frame we're going to look at. Let's go ahead and start bumping it forwards. See if anything changes. We're looking at our SRV, our prob wind, our prob severe is still pretty low. This part of the cell is looking pretty good. Prob wind and prob torque still jacked on it. Let's switch back over to SRV, and we'll get our storm motion more tuned. Whoops, that's the warning. Right click, not a left click. And don't want that on. That's your winter mask. Works great up north this time of year, but right now in Florida, not good to have on. So we're going to go storm motion from warning. I right clicked on the warning box, so now we can get a good storm specific rotation centric kind of velocity there. Nothing real exciting looking. It's like inflow maybe here or here. So mostly all inbounds at this time. We're not seeing any kind of decent outbounds. Step it forward, see if we see anything show up. And we are getting kind of a pendant hanging down here, so that'd be an area to watch. Throw a place marker on there. A little bit of outbounds, so we do have a little bit of rotation there. Get zoomed up a little better. Nothing exciting there. Probably mesocyclone level. Let me throw a marker on the inbound side. But let's see, that's a little bit too far out. And we're not really seeing, we need to be up our DV, the fourth line there, delta V or change in velocity needs to be up over 50 knots to get mesocyclone manually verified. 80 to 90% of manually verified mesos do produce severe, but right now that rotation is not looking very good. But that pendant looks fairly coherent up through the elevation angles that I was looking up through. Sales 2 is running right now. See that down there? That means we're getting 2 extra 0.5 cuts for every volume scan. So that kind of messes with your loops a little bit, but GR2 handles it pretty well. And that cell, once again, we were looking at prob winds high. Prob torque, that's pretty significant, 28%. I wouldn't be surprised shortly after this if that persists, if National Weather Service doesn't put a tornado box on that, so polygon on that storm. We'll see. But we're really looking at a lack of rotation there, I would say, overall in the SRV. Make sure we're staying up to date on our storm motion. So right click storm motion from warning, and it did update. Still got that pendant, or what might be eventually, if we get enough inflow and some spin down, we'll get some rotation in there. But right now it looks pretty weak. That cell up to the north kind of faded out as well. Still warned for severe, but And it looks like we got prob tour still in the 20s, mid 20s, prob wind still high, and not a lot of shear along there. Let's take a look at base velocity. It's showing up nothing crazy. I was looking this looking a little like it's got a bow to it, but base velocity not picking up on that either at this time. So we'll keep bumping that ahead. Keep an eye on that storm box, see if it changes much. Prob wind up to 73% there at that point. And this is one of our overlays there. That's the level 3 attributes, 277 at 35. So we're pretty close there on the storm motion for that cell. Meso strength 4. Usually we're looking for 5 or higher to start getting excited about a meso. Probability severe hail 20%, probability hail any size 90%. And that kind of lines up. We got half-inch hail showing up on our algorithm. So we're getting fairly good prob wind up here in that cell as well, but not seeing anything really holding together. So we'll see if this thing gets any kind of rotation there. Right now it's looking pretty puny. Doesn't look like prob severe is updating. Let's see, we got one frame there. We got dropped down to 58%. Next frame, might have missed one. There it jumps back up to 73. So this thing's picking up on a lot of what we call MRMS, or multi-radar, multi-system ingredients. Those ingredients, all you gotta do is mouse over that prob severe. All you gotta do is a Google search for prob severe place file, and you can find it pretty readily. It's an Iowa State algorithm, place file. The algorithm comes out of NOAA. Sims. Prob severe still pinging at 64%. So no reports since it's made landfall much inside of St. Pete area. So we'll keep on it. See what we got.